All right. Welcome to Social Media, How Rotary Can Harness This Powerful Tool, a presentation sponsored by Rotary Club Radio and District 5960. And I want to welcome everyone who is on the webinar with us tonight. I'm really excited to have so many people that signed up, and we're looking forward to seeing how many people will be here with us. I want to do just some quick introductions. My name is Kirk Anderson, and I'm the host of Rotary Club Radio. And it's my privilege to be able to introduce you to a professional speaker who is an expert on social media. Her name is Kerry Rego, and she's actually calling in and presenting from California. And so we want to welcome her here as well. She has a business that is wrapped around social media and technology, and so she and I have a lot in common, and it's been really fun to get to know her. And so without further ado, I'm going to let her take the reins. Kerry, are you there?
I am. Thank you, Kirk, for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the webinar, and I'm going to let you take over from here. And again, there are Q&A questions that you can type into the box, and I will present those to Kerry at the end of the webinar. And remember, we are going to record this as well. All right, so take it away, Kerry.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Kerry Rego. I am a social media trainer, educator, and professional speaker. This is what I do all day long. I am passionate about technology and helping individuals understand how to use it and getting rid of some of the fear that surrounds it. I understand that change is difficult, and part of my objective is to make it as easy for you as possible to accept new tools. I'm from the Rotary Club of Santa Rosa West, as you can see on your screen. That's an hour north of San Francisco, and I regularly speak to Rotary clubs. It's part of my heart, so I'm really happy to be here today. So I wanted to talk to you today about a recent example of social media and what it can and can't do. What you're seeing are images from the London riots from last summer. And let me set the stage for you. Individuals from the ages of 18 to 25 approximately had no hope, no jobs, no future, and nothing to really care about. They got upset and they trashed their neighborhood. They burned the city. It burned for 4 days. Prime Minister Cameron went online, chose several channels, and said, social media should be shut down because it caused this destruction. In the technology industry, it forced us to chuckle a little bit because social media doesn't force anything to happen. It really is at the behest of the individual. What they used is BlackBerry phones, and they used a closed network called BlackBerry Messenger. And it is in fact closed and private, which is exactly not what social media is. These individuals did use social media. They gathered themselves together using Twitter and Facebook and cleaned up the city of London. They coordinated by saying, we're going to be at the corner of 4th and Elm, bring your brooms and your shovels, or you may want to evacuate this area because it's too dangerous to be in. Protect yourselves. So the misunderstanding of what social media is, web-based communications that turn monologues into dialogues, that's Wikipedia's definition, which is in fact a social media tool. Prime Minister Cameron didn't understand what he was talking about and misspoke, and that's actually quite normal. But what's one thing that's really important to understand is that technology is inert. It takes on the values and intentions of its users. Alec Ross works with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and does much of what I do. And when they go from country to country, he works with heads of state and other powerful people to help them understand the tools that are available to them. And I believe President of France, Nicolas Sarkozy, one of the locations that he visited when he came to the United States, one of the few locations, was Twitter HQ, the headquarters, and he opened up his own Twitter account and sent his first tweet. And I fully understand that that seemed a little odd, that the President of France comes here to create a Twitter account. But it's important to understand that it is changing the world over, from Tunisia to Egypt to Saudi Arabia to Iran all over the world, people's lives, literally their lives, are affected by social media. And as Rotarians, we understand the ability to reach out to others and affect their lives can be as small as a bucket of water, as big as a house, and at this point, as small as a mobile device. So what's the big deal? Why do we care? Let's look at some numbers here and see where the people are congregating. With Facebook and 901 million users, we're pushing close to 1 billion. It's not that Facebook is the best. It's not that it's the one everybody should be using. But if you look at that number, it's really hard to ignore it. If you're under the age of 35, Facebook may very well have replaced the telephone for you. If you live in the southern United States, you are facing the removal of your landline services. From mobile devices and landline, our voice minutes are going down. They are going to be removing phones from the South. And that's if you are AT&T or Bell South or another large conglomerate that invests in phone lines. They're looking at a multi-billion-dollar reinvestment to upgrade their assets. If they cannot guarantee subscribers, if they cannot guarantee that they will make their money back, they are simply going to stop providing that service. It is a bottom line business, and they cannot project that they're going to have enough people to have a telephone. So the telephone is not the most important anymore, especially if you're under the age of 35. If you tried to call your kids, you know they probably don't pick up the phone. Twitter is sending 400 million tweets a day. Only about 13% of the United States uses Twitter. And I have to tell you, if you've tried it and you don't get it, or you don't want to use it, or you don't understand it, you are not alone. We hear about Twitter disproportionately to the rest of the tools available to us because it is in fact an information network. It's not technically a social network, though it has social components. It passes information faster than anything else on the planet. So all journalists are using Twitter as a part of their job. So we hear about it on the TV news, we hear about it in the newspaper, we hear about it everywhere more than other tools because they're using it. But if you don't get it, don't worry about it. This tool, as a matter of fact, is the one that I recommend the least, and I'll tell you why. It's very fast, it's a voracious beast, it's very difficult to stay on top of, but the one organization that I have wholeheartedly recommended uses Twitter is Rotary. The reason is we are international, we have no boundaries, no language, no culture, we are all over the globe. We are the perfect organization to use Twitter. And I manage the Facebook page and Twitter account for my own club, and I waited a long time before I started our Twitter account. In fact, I turned it on about a month ago. The reason is it was finally time. It is allowing us to connect with other clubs around the globe so that we can work together. YouTube. At 4 billion plus views a day, my 6-year-old doesn't understand when I say to her, you can't watch any more TV. Why? She's watching YouTube or Hulu or Netflix. You're not watching television on regular television anymore. At least that's not the way the average person today is watching television. It far surpasses any network channel that you can think of. LinkedIn is for professionals and those in business. If you're retired, LinkedIn is not for you unless you want to continue to stay connected with your work colleagues. It is the only game in town when it comes to professional networks. Their next competition is an application that is housed on Facebook, so it's not independent, doesn't stand on its own. Their user base reaches 1 million people. There is no competition for LinkedIn. It is tremendously valuable. Google+, if you have an Android device or a tablet, a mobile phone, that kind of thing, if you've started a Google account in the recent 6 to 9 months, you actually have a Google+ account and you may not be aware of it. That 100 million users that you see there is a little bit of a fudge because a lot of people have Google+ accounts and aren't even aware of it. When you activate a Google device, you get a Google+ account. So they tend to share only the information that makes them look good. We'll see a slide in a moment that I'll be able to demonstrate exactly what I mean by that. Tumblr, if you've seen Tumblr, it is a photo-based blog with 16 billion monthly page views. It dwarfs many of the other blog services. It is also highly unreliable because it's so popular. So let's take a look at what these numbers in usage and minutes mean. With Facebook, the average person, the average United States user that's using Facebook is at 405 minutes a month. And that's really not much. That's about 13.5 minutes a day. And between meetings, at the end of the day, 13 minutes is easily lost on the timeline. With Pinterest, which is a photo sharing service, it is a complete time suck. They are also getting 405 minutes a month. And I'm not sure exactly why this one is featured so small, but Pinterest is a very powerful service. It's also forcing us to have conversations about copyright infringement. It's very, very easy to share. And if you remember the Sony Walkman or boombox where you could push record and record a song off of the radio, the Recording Industry Association of America, they sued people for distributing copies. They didn't sue Sony for making a recording button. Pinterest is the recording service here. They're allowing us to share, but it's forcing a really important conversation about copyright. If you don't own that intellectual property, the law says that you can't share it. But the whole web today with social media is based on sharing. This is forcing us to look at our laws that were written pre-internet and really forcing us to look at what is ours, what we can share, how to cite our sources. So I caution you on being very careful about sharing information that you don't own and is not yours. And there are many organizations that are very litigious, such as the Beatles and Joni Mitchell, that will seek you out and send you a cease and desist letter. So just be conscious of the content that you're sharing. If you haven't written it or you don't own it, you have to think very carefully about whether or not you have the right to share it. Twitter at 89 minutes a month, LinkedIn at 21. When we get down to Google Plus at 3 minutes a month, yes, it's a very new service. They have a lot of catch-up to do. But there is one image that does not appear on this list. MySpace. MySpace was the original social network as far as social media is concerned today. MySpace is considered an industry joke. People laugh when they talk about MySpace. You don't want to be that. But MySpace is still getting 8 minutes a month, better than Google+. That shocks me when I think of that. The industry joke is better than Google+. So, you've got all of these tools, you might possibly use them, but really, where do you start? What you really, really need to do in every situation, whether you're getting in your car or you are embarking upon a social media agenda, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? You will go nowhere until you make a decision about what you want to happen. I ask this in a few ways. One, what's your goal? Or, what do you want to happen? Do you want more people to come to your meetings? Do you want to raise more money to eradicate polio? Do you want to express more, get more brand awareness around the community projects that your club does? Do you want more people to come to your crab feed or whatever large fundraiser you're having? You need to establish what that goal is before you start, or you won't get anywhere. Then you need to take a look at the tools that are available. We'll look at them a little bit later, and make a decision about who you're trying to reach. Researching is important. I highly recommend pewinternet.org. It's P-E-W, internet.org. Why I recommend the Pew Internet Research and the American Life Project is because they have very solid and strong survey and statistics around demographics, culture, language, and technology use. I regularly reference their surveys in a tumultuous world of ever-changing statistics in my field, but they're a very trustworthy source. I'm actually on their mailing list, get an email from them maybe once a week, but you probably won't need that much information. But if you want to know where your particular market, a particular demographic, or a culture is using technology, they are a very useful resource, and I highly recommend them. But let's say you want to reach women between the ages of 20 and 40. Where are they? What tools are they using? They're on Facebook. They're on Pinterest. Where are men between the ages of 20 and 45? They're largely on Google Plus and LinkedIn. They're everywhere. But it's really helpful for you to understand Who are you trying to reach and where are they? I'll show you 5 basic questions that you'll ask yourself in this research mode in a few minutes. You also need to make a decision about routine. On Facebook, as an example, your average page posts every 16 days. You really want to be posting multiple times a week. It will bear all the way up to 3 times a day. Oh my gosh, that's too much, you're probably saying. It's really not. Every 3 hours, you're reaching a different audience. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm simply saying it's more frequent than you believe. But understanding what tools are available to you and understanding who is where was going to help you determine what your routine is. If I were to compare Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn as an example, I call Facebook a class reunion, I call Twitter a cocktail party, and LinkedIn a professional conference. And the reason I say that is that these are parties and they have different music, different tempos. Facebook is pretty casual. Twitter is very, very fast. LinkedIn is much slower. So you have to understand the culture of each of these channels. This is a part of your research. And this is going to help you to determine what your routine is going to be. We're going to post to Facebook 3 times a week. Who is responsible? This is a task that needs to be assigned. The next step is to measure. You've got a goal. And a goal looks like, I want more people to walk into the doors of our club. We want to raise more money for this particular fundraiser. A goal is not, I want 1 million fans. It's not, I want to make more money in general. It's something tangible that you can measure and you can see if you are achieving your goal or not. If you are perfect, then you will need no adjustment. But I don't know anybody that's perfect, and if you are, please send me a note. I would like to pick your brain. But everybody's going to need to adjust. You're not going to get this right the first time out of the gate. That's what measuring does. You've got the goal. You measure to see if you've achieved it. If you don't achieve it, then you need to adjust the way you approach it. Just like with a car. If you hear a pinging in your car and it's not performing to its top capacity, you're going to possibly alter the kind of gas you put in it and then review. Or you're going to adjust how you shift and then review. This measurement phase is highly important. You need to see if people are clicking on your links and if they're visiting your websites. If they're not, you need to adjust. Persisting isn't what I would call a traditional step, but I need you to know that this does not happen overnight. You and I both know that anything good worth having takes time. I often use a slide that has a really great washboard abs. If you want to go to the gym and you want to have a really awesome body, you know it's going to take longer than 24 hours. It's going to take longer than a week. It's going to take a minimum of 6 months before you see new muscles. Social media is no different. Yes, you can buy followers. Yes, you can buy fans. But you and I both know we want quality, not quantity. So don't give up. Give it at least 6 months, and you will see a difference. You will see it if you follow all of these steps and are patient. It can happen overnight, but that's usually somebody that goes on Oprah or goes on the nightly news, and they gain hundreds and thousands of fans overnight. That is the exception. Persistence will get you where you want to go. So this is the general goal for Rotary. Main objective is service in the community, in the workplace, and around the globe. Your individual club is going to have goals of its own. Of course, they align quite closely with this goal, but it's important for you to state this, to write it down, to hold it in front of you. If you don't, you will get lost. You will lose your way. We tend to fall apart when we're looking at how many fans and followers we have, and it becomes about, I want 1 million followers. Well, what happens when you get to 1 million? You want 1,000,001, 2, 3, 4. You're never happy. You're never sated. Be grateful for what you have. Serve those that are there rather than reaching for more. It's really, really important that you communicate with who is there rather than reaching for the mirage out in the horizon. Stick to your goals, pay attention to that, and you will get there. These are really important questions to ask when you're making a decision about what tool you're going to use. Who are you trying to reach? You're not trying to reach yourself. I am a woman, a minority woman in my 30s, heavily technically educated, but that's not who I'm trying to reach. You have to actually draw a picture of who you want. You might not draw a stick figure. It can be a demographic listing. I know many Rotary clubs are really looking to get more younger members, those under the age of 40, and that's actually really important for the survival of Rotary. Who are you trying to reach? If you want to bring in new members, people under the age of 40 are texting, they're using Facebook, they're using a wide variety of tools. You need to reach them where they're at. What do they prefer to hear from you? You can survey people that you know. You can look at qinternet.org to see what they're actually doing. It's really important that you're not talking to yourself and to your friends. You're talking to who you actually want to reach. When do they want to hear from you? Surprisingly, 6 to 8 in the morning is the best time to send an email. Nobody would have believed it. I wouldn't have believed it until I saw the data on it. They want to hear from you at certain times of day. Depending on the tool that you're using, that time of day may change. Where are they? What room are they in? What party are they at? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on Tumblr? Are they using email? This really determines who you're trying to talk to. Where are they? They go together. And a reiteration with the why. Why are you there? What is the purpose? Don't ever forget that. It's really, really easy to get distracted by all the bells and whistles and forget why you're there. Remind yourself why you are doing what you're doing. Here's an example of a few of the projects that I'm familiar with. Your area may have different projects, but these are pretty standard, from polio to clean water, world peace, to my location. We do a lot of dictionary donations. All the third graders in my town get a dictionary. This is also my crab feet from last year. So these are the types of things that you're supporting. Your clubs have different goals. You have something that's important to you. So if you're visual and you need to see the pictures to remind you of what you're doing, that little girl does a lot for me. It's not just water, it's not just a droplet or molecules. It's a happy person that's healthy. And that's important to me as a Rotarian. What is important to you? What is important to your club? So when I had to describe to my father what I did for a living, I said, I could give you a hammer. What are you going to go do with that hammer? Let's take a look at our toolkit. At the very top of the screen, you're seeing an image that is an RSS feed. It's real simple syndication. It's how people look at blogs. Especially if you read a lot of blogs, you can port them all into one location. Google Reader is very common. It's like subscribing to blogs, and you can read a lot of them. This practice isn't used as widely as it used to because things like Twitter and Facebook take on the same function. But this category is really about blogging. Blogging is long-form communication. You can say anything you want to say about anything. You can talk about your community projects. You can talk about the international bonds that you've made. You could talk about your president-elect going to the international convention, the pictures that they took, the people that they met, the experiences that they had. This is your First Amendment right, live and kicking right in front of you. It kind of gives me goosebumps because I remember being in high school and learning about U.S. history and it just not being vibrant. This is vibrant and real. These are our human rights, and we can often take them for granted. We're in a very comfortable place, but blogging long form is anything you want to say. Now, Twitter, as an example, is short form. It's the haiku version of blogging. Microsoft just purchased Yammer, and Yammer is an enterprise version of Twitter. You've got a blog and a microblog, long form, short form. Whichever works best for you, you could have both. But it's important to understand that it allows you to communicate in a long direction or as short as you want it to be. The next category is multimedia. We're working counterclockwise from the top. Pictures, audio, and video. Pictures are the most important thing that you have available to you. If you have a smartphone, you have a multimedia studio in your pocket or your purse. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. You've heard it. I want you to think of an amazing photo that you once saw from, I love Life magazine photos. But think of a photo that really touched your heart. If you wanted to write about that, that would be much more difficult to convey. A photo is a way for Rotarians to show what we do. You and I both know a lot of people don't really understand what we do. Show them the park that you pulled out the sod and you planted new flowers, the well that you dug, the toilets that you installed in a city in Mexico, the food that you donated, the Secret Santa. Show them what we do. You can tell them, but they need to see it. The web is being redesigned to function around photos. So take pictures, take them, at meetings, at projects, at conventions, at assemblies, everywhere you go, take pictures. Video is just as powerful but has more obstacles. Why that is, if you have a internet connection, my internet connection may be different than yours, broadband speed, connection speed, upload, download, buffering. Vimeo and YouTube are two very common video sharing sites. I love Vimeo. The quality is unbelievable, but it buffers, it pauses, and it stops. And I get very frustrated because I can't watch a video seamlessly. YouTube is owned by Google, so it has great search capacity and is widely used. With photos, we have Flickr, Instagram, Picasa, a lot of photo sharing tools. Audio tends to be more educational or humor-based, but think radio. It's really radio for every man. Everybody can have their own radio station. So it's important to understand that everybody learns differently. You can be kinetic, you can be visual, or you can be auditory. Understanding how you learn will help you empathize with how other people learn. It's not always about what you want. iTunes and other podcasting tools are very common for this particular feature. If we look at the next category, this is networking. As human beings, we need to be in the same room with each other. We need to see each other, talk to each other, touch each other. When a baby is born, if they're not touched or held or loved, there's something called a failure to thrive. They will not grow. We are the same. Even as old and crusty adults, we still need to be hugged. We still need to be touched. Now, social networks are the next best thing. They're not better. They're the next best thing. This is why you have 901 million people on Facebook. It's the next best thing to being with the person you love. If you look at the next category, well, you've got Facebook, LinkedIn, MySpace. There's a lot of other social networks that are people connecting with other people. With the event category, Eventbrite, Evite, Facebook also an event feature. This allows you to coordinate either a live or a web-based event like the one we're at right now, using a calendar type function. Some of these allow you to sell tickets, and they issue paper tickets, they issue receipts. I really like Eventbrite. That one's really easy to use, but it's wonderful for hosting your own event. And as nonprofits with a volunteer base as we are, these kinds of tools are particularly useful for us to track who's coming and going and accepting money and keeping it all straight. The next category is mobile. And I really like the picture of this particular phone simply because it's kind of old. But the point is, it doesn't matter if you have a feature phone, and this is, I believe this one's a feature phone, or you have a smartphone. A feature phone just makes phone calls and does basic features. A smartphone will access the internet. What's important is that we have more than the majority. We have about 54% of cell phone users in the United States are using smartphones, so they can access the web the way it was designed. Visiting your Rotary Club website and taking a look to see if it can be seen in a mobile environment, your phone will reroute the design of a website to fit the screen. And if your website does not work on a mobile device, you have a problem. It's really, really important that you understand that the web is going mobile. So people aren't just buying desktops anymore. I'm sure you've noticed that. They may not even be buying laptops. They're buying tablets and they're buying mobile devices. So you need to be able to access and use your website the way it was intended from a mobile device. Test it from every browser and every device you can get your hands on. The next is location-based services. When I was a kid, my dad's a pilot, and he had a GPS unit, a global positioning system, in his plane. He still does. There is a GPS chip in your phone, and there's not really a way to turn it off. You can turn off some of the features, but really, truthfully, you can always be pinpointed. This makes people very nervous. This is a privacy concern, but the important part to understand is if you are looking for a Rotary Club or, let's say, a hairstylist, if you type that into your browser on your phone or on your computer and you need a hairstylist, if you live in the state of Virginia, you want a hairstylist that's close to you. You do not need one from California or Hawaii or Korea. It's important that your browser understand where you are on the planet in order for it to provide you with accurate search results. And mobile is exactly the same way. So there's lots of services like Foursquare, as an example, allows me to check in at a location. It allows me to get information about where I'm checking in, get points, get a coupon, get information, share that with the rest of the world. Foursquare is a really great way for Rotarians around the world to help others see where we are and what we're doing. Yelp also has a check-in feature. Facebook took this check-in feature from Foursquare because it worked so well. So anything that is location-based surrounds, it has something to do with the position that you have on the planet. Those are location-based services. Now the next is sharing and review. It used to be that there was a show called Siskel and Ebert. And if Siskel and Ebert liked the movie, the odds of you going were pretty good. Well, Siskel and Ebert is over. 78% of consumers listen to their peers. Only 14% listen to advertisers. Paid advertising is in trouble. So what's replaced it is the endorsement of a user. So when an organization asks you to rate a service, such as Netflix with its stars, or Amazon with their stars, eBay also has stars, the thumbs up is largely used on Facebook. Google Plus has a +1. This is you endorsing something. This is you putting your name and your stamp on something, giving your approval, so that your friends around you and those that you're connected with can see that this is a service that you endorse. And I use that word consistently because your name could be sold. People can see that you like that. So there are some settings on Facebook, as an example, that allow you to remove that, but they're making it more and more difficult to completely keep all of that information private. But this is how we make purchasing decisions today, because if our best friend says it's a great movie, then I'll go. If an advertiser says it's a great movie, maybe not. The next is bookmarking, allowing you to save a lot of services, a lot of websites in one location, from link shorteners like bit.ly and tinyurl to stumble upon. Pinterest even fits into this category, a way for you to collect great information on the web and possibly share it. The next category is email marketing. This is much more cost effective than print mail, but understand if your audience still wants print mail, then that's important. But email marketing is very cost effective in comparison. You can now track clicks. You can see where people are coming from, where they're getting the information, what time of day they opened it, whether or not they opened it, if their email address is no longer valid. And email marketing is where conversion happens. This is where they click on that buy now, donate now, RSVP now button. This is where action happens. This is one of the few services that actually requires some money. It's still very low cost. It's starting at free, $8, $10, $15, $20, $40, $30, around that range, depending on how many people you are mailing to. This is your mailing list. They do not provide you with emails. You already have those emails and you upload them. You can use Constant Contact, Vertical Response, Aweber, MailChimp, but this is probably the most important tool if you want to convert into action. The next category is document sharing. Some of you may have used Google Docs. Scribd is a great way to get PDF files as well. Any document sharing service that allows you to send a Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, That's a document sharing service. Some of them will allow you to edit as a team, as Google Docs does. Very important for volunteer teams that are spread over a wide area. The next tool or sets of tools are professional PR tools. Probably you won't need them, but I want you to know that they're their own category, generally very expensive, but get you a lot of results. Don't anticipate that you'll need them, but as an example, Rotary International might be using some high-powered PR tools. The last is monitoring. This is the ability for you to monitor what's happening around your name or your brand or your club. An example, you've probably performed a vanity search. Other people call it Googling yourself. If you've ever Googled your own name or the name of your club, the search results that come up are what other people see as well. If you do nothing else after you walk away from this webinar, Google yourself or use another web browser such as, or search engine as Bing or Yahoo, but do a vanity search on your name or your club's name and see what comes up. That's what the public is seeing. There's a free tool called Google Alerts that allows you to set an alarm or an alert that will continue to do those searches for you on a daily basis. You can change if you get an email as it happens, once a day, once a week. You can change those kinds of settings, but it's very important for you to understand who's talking about your club. The Google Alerts that we have set up, when our club name appears in the paper, we get an email. So we have a link that goes directly to that particular article. If somebody would have missed it, we wouldn't know, but we get an email that says your club has been mentioned. Now I want to say that the phone, television, radio, print mail, and traditional web are all still in use. I'm not saying they're not necessary or that you don't want to use them. Social media and traditional media go together. They're not, social media does not replace traditional. You have to understand who you're trying to reach and make decisions about which tools, whether they're traditional or new, which tools are appropriate to suit your goal. You do have to establish what routine you're going to use. Is it once a day? Is it once a week? Is it once a month? Each one of the tools that I mentioned on the previous slide has a different tempo, but you have to assign duties. My club is currently assigning blog duties. We have a brand new blog, and I'm going to sit down and figure out what I'm going to write about. And then somebody else is going to figure out what they're going to write about. And then we'll see how frequently we write based on how much material we have that we've come up with. It does have to be assigned, just like the garbage. Garbage has to go out on Mondays. Who takes out the garbage? I know it's not the best analogy, but it really does show you that every single week something has to be done, and somebody has to do it. These are some best practices. Being spammy on Facebook, as an example, is posting once a day is great, but if you have a lot of content, don't post every 5 minutes all day long. That's too much and will annoy people. It's very similar to commercials. If you have a digital video recorder or DVR, TiVo is a brand name for that, you skip over the commercials. People don't want commercials. They want real interaction. So if it annoys you, it'll annoy them. Make sure you check your messages. At this point, the phone is not the only voicemail. You've got phone, physical mail, voicemail, Facebook mail, Twitter mail, whatever communication channels you're using, you need to respond. I left a message on a Facebook page for a dance studio asking if I could rent the studio for my own use. It took them 14 months to get back to me. 14 months. That's not acceptable. If it was a telephone and you ignored somebody's phone call, you know that's rude. It's the same thing as all the other channels. If you're going to plug in that phone line, return those messages. Engage with people. Here's an experiment. If I ask you right now what you had for breakfast, you've probably paused and thought about it. When you ask questions of people, even if they don't type in the answer, they're answering it and they're engaging with you on some level. It takes a little bit of practice to convert regular conversational tone that's verbal into conversational tone that's written. It does take practice, but being real is more important than being perfect. Again, whoever is responsible should have good grammar, good spelling, and be able to read and edit what they've written. This is actually more difficult than you would think. Many people just shoot it off and don't think too clearly about what they're writing. But it is important for you to be a real person. They can tell the difference. You can automate and link your accounts together. A Facebook page can push through to a Twitter account. But I do have to say, if you have 5 different accounts and you hit publish and it trickles through all 5, if I, as a viewer or an audience member, are following you on all 5 channels and I get the same message 5 times, you have thoroughly annoyed me. So make sure that you automate with care. It can be done. You can use some services, TweetDeck, Hootsuite. You now even have a scheduling feature on Facebook that allows you to sit down once a week and schedule out posts. Use that very carefully. If you are automating, make sure you're there to answer those questions and to check your messages. You do have to review your goals and measure and adjust and make sure you're achieving it. Just turning it on and expecting something to happen won't cut it. Let people know you're there. They just won't come to you. There has to be a reason. You have to give them value. It's not just what day your club meets. Why do I care about Rotary? What do you really do? Talk to me about your projects. Show me pictures of what you're doing. But let people know that you're there to talk to, not just talk at. You really do need to be social. The word social is not in social media by accident. This is conversation between multiple people. It's not a one-way street. It goes both ways. I absolutely love this quote by Chris Brogan. He wrote Trust Agents. It's an excellent book on social media. Nobody ever asked Hemingway what pencils he used to write his books. This is not about what fancy tool you're using. This is not about the computer. This is still about people. This is still about us caring about our community members, wanting to alleviate poverty, wanting to educate, bring clean water. We want to make a difference. I don't care if you use a shovel or a pen. The point is, you need to pick a tool that's appropriate for what you want to do. Don't get caught up in the tools. We really can change the world. And in 20 years, the tools are going to look very different. So I want you to know that we can continue to do what we're doing. We just have new tools in our tool belt. So I think we are ready for questions. Kirk, are we ready for questions?
Yes. Sorry about that. I had to find the unmute button, and I did find it.
No
the first question that I have, and thank you so much for that presentation. That was very wonderful. The first question I had is about integrating tools, and it must be going back to integrating to take a message and spread it across multiple platforms. So what's the best tool that you recommend for getting a message out to Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and any other social network without having to log in each time?
Well, my favorite social media management tool is Hootsuite, and that's spelled H-O-O-T-S-U-I-T-E. Their mascot is an owl, so Hoot is kind of a joke for them. Now, the issue with Google Plus is that Google Plus is not playing well with others yet. So unfortunately, that particular tool is not integrated into a lot of the social media management tools, which is, again, it's an obstacle for Google Plus. People are not able to connect it with everything else. Hootsuite will do Facebook, MySpace, LinkedIn, Foursquare, Mixi, and I think at least one other, WordPress. A free WordPress version will also mix onto that. So what I do bi-weekly, I sit down with my own personal calendar and I go into Hootsuite and I schedule. I use it largely for Twitter because it's such a hard channel to maintain. It allows me to make sure that I'm promoting when our club is meeting, when we have a dark day, promoting different fundraisers and events, and that way I don't feel like I've missed anything. It also allows me to make sure business is done, but then it allows me to be on the individual channels in a more real way and be a little bit more casual. Complete automation is not recommended. It is a supplement to your regular tools. Unfortunately, Google Plus, you're going to have to navigate to that on your own. It does not connect. If you don't like Hootsuite, there's also TweetDeck, which was recently purchased by Twitter. I don't care for TweetDeck as much. It's really a personal preference. But Hootsuite is all web-based. You do need to download TweetDeck onto your computer or your mobile device. Hootsuite I can use from anywhere in the world through the web.
All right, fantastic. One caveat to that, if you decide to do a Twitter profile and use Twitter, I would highly recommend not auto-following, which was real popular early on. You end up with a lot of junk mail and a lot of things that you don't necessarily want, and you'll never be able to interact personally with people as well. So keep it real and follow people that you are interested in interacting with, and you can actually have that online community that grows. Okay, the second question I have is from Jim, and it is, I own a video production and marketing company. I'm curious what kind of interactions you are seeing regarding communication with people via video email.
Video email, that's a great question, Jim. You know, I've seen a few people use it. I have not seen it jump in popularity, and I'm going to hazard a guess as to why. The reason is, depending on what email service you use, Outlook is the most common desktop email service. Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, on and on and on, mobile, web-based, desktop. You have a lot of different variations in how email is served. And then if you throw on top of that the different kinds of phones and devices that people are using to access their mail, everybody gets something a little bit different. There's somebody I know that likes to use a lot of formatting in his emails. The problem is that I can't always see the pictures, I can't always see the embedding, I can't always see the formatting. What you are sending isn't always what people are receiving. So we find that the pictures that people embed and the videos that they embed don't always come through on the other end. So email is actually becoming more lean and mean and less about bells and whistles. So I have seen very little penetration when it comes to video mail. It's a great idea, but users don't seem to really want
it. Kerry, have you ever used the Circles with Google Plus, which is integrated into YouTube? It basically allows you to send a link via email and then hook up with a group of people, two or more people, and then also broadcast it live for something like we're doing here, except for you'd actually see our faces instead of a PowerPoint screen. And that is an up-and-coming fun way to do video, simply using the camera on your laptop or desktop computer.
It's an excellent idea. That's actually called Hangouts. It is a feature. Circles is really what you would call a friend list, but circling is just a new way to describe it. Hangouts is the video capacity. It's one of the most popular features on Google+. I personally haven't used it outside of testing because none of my friends actually use Google+. So I use Google+ from a research standpoint, but it doesn't have that same, I like you, you are my friend, let's talk, let's video chat. For me, it's a very tech-based environment, so I have only tested that feature. And again, with social networks, it's largely about where your tribe of people is. And unfortunately, my tribe has not migrated to Google+ at all. So I have not been able to really enjoy and take advantage of some of the amazing features they have, including Hangouts, which is in fact superior to the integrated Skype that's included on Facebook, which you can only see one person at a time. Hangouts goes up to 8 people.
Yeah, I've seen a number of Hangouts that have been very successful with multiple people, and your face pops up and changes as you speak, and then also broadcasting that out. You can broadcast a YouTube URL, and many people, hundreds of people, could watch that, just like if they were to go to YouTube and watch a recorded video, and then that also records afterwards, and you can have it as part of your channel. It's a very powerful tool.
They've had a lot of high-powered, notable people come on and host Hangouts to encourage people to use it. It's an excellent feature. Their largest obstacle is sheer amount of users.
Yes, absolutely. I have another question from Catherine, and she's looking for some suggestions on how to drive views to a blog.
Wonderful question, Catherine. How to get views on any piece of content, whether it's a blog or Facebook or Twitter or any other channel of your choice. There are several things that you need to do. One is when you're in casual conversation with people, when it's appropriate and it makes sense to mention, let's say you're talking about your club's fundraiser, you can say, when you're having a conversation about the fundraiser with somebody, let's say you've invited them to go or you've sold them tickets, you could say, you know, I just posted on our blog last week photos from last year's event. Feel free to go check them out. So verbally, you have to tell people. Second, I recommend using your email signature. It's a great piece of real estate that you can put your most valuable links in, and all you have to do is send an email to somebody and they have basically a digital business card. Cross-link. So if you're trying to promote your blog, promote it on Facebook, promote it on Twitter, put it in your email, etc., multiple places. But you're really going to have to continuously do that. As a blogger specifically, or driving somebody to a traditional website / blog, one great thing you can do is to comment on other blogs. This is a wonderful blog. I'm very excited. I would like to have this same thing in my own club. Thank you very much, Kerry Rego, Santa Rosa West, and the link to my blog. It's a wonderful way to drive traffic, creating relationships with other bloggers by leaving comments and giving them respect and the time of day by leaving an appropriate comment, not just saying something to say something. But it's a great way to drive new people to your blog.
Okay, and I would add to that from the web design perspective that there's also a lot of SEO things that you can do keyword wise, and that would be something that would affect what people are searching for on Google and Bing and things like that. So both the personal invitation to drive traffic, but then also as people are searching for certain keywords, you want to make sure that you're keywording your blog with those search terms that you want. And most blogs nowadays have an SEO area that you fill in with certain search terms and a little description and a title and things like that. Make sure you fill all those out, and then once you're done with that, go and submit that URL to your Facebook page or your personal Facebook profile, to Twitter, and you'll be surprised how many people will click those links and follow you over and read what you have. And next question is from Bruce, and I'm not sure we're going to have an answer to this, but he said a business executive was quoted in the press recently saying, I would prefer they introduce themselves via Twitter first. What do you think they meant by that? Is there a benefit to introductions through Twitter first?
I'm not sure the intent of the question, introducing them first, introducing a business executive. I'm not sure I understand the intent of the question.
I think it's maybe rather than through email trying to get a connection with the exec by sending an email, but rather through Twitter. And I can follow a little bit with that because my first initial connection with you was actually through Twitter after I saw one of your presentations online. I chose to contact you through Twitter, and you got back with me right away. So it worked for me. Is there any benefit to you seeing Twitter as opposed to maybe email?
Absolutely. I thank you very much for that clarification. That helped me get there. I would agree that Twitter is an excellent way to communicate with somebody. It is an open, internationally open channel. So you are expecting anybody to talk to you at any time. In fact, that's what you want. Email is considered private. It's like a private phone number. So if you have my email and I didn't give it to you, that often makes me a little bit uncomfortable. That means that you've done some serious research, and often people are sold via email. They're spammed via email. On Twitter, it's open to the whole world, and that's what you're expecting. Email is considered to be more of a private domain, and it's also currency. If you're looking at email marketing, it costs money to receive emails. People buy email lists. Twitter is a little bit of a different animal. It is open by nature, and that's what's expected. So I would agree. I think that receiving an initial communication via Twitter would probably be received in a better way than through email.
All right, well, that works for me because I try and connect with people a lot through Twitter, and there's something kind of neat when you get a response back from somebody that you don't know. When I first reached out to Kerry, I did not know how big of a business you had or how important you were. I knew that you had a fantastic website and that you had a great presentation, so I was kind of stepping out on a limb to say, hey, Kerry, would you consider doing a webinar with me? And when you reached out to me, that was a little flattering that you actually took time to do that, and that built a connection where here we are today. So I will say that does work, and people really appreciate when you respond in a timely manner. So very good.
Yes.
Going back to Catherine, who asked about keywords, and she asked, are the keywords that you're talking about driven by the most recent time they were posted? I'm going to make an assumption here from a search engine standpoint. When I talk about keywords, I'm talking about what people are searching for in Google. And as they are searching for those relevant keyword strings, Google has indexed your website based on the words that are in the body of your text. So whatever you write in the body, your title, whatever you put it as the title, and then there's kind of a background thing called keyword. You actually just put keywords in there. And as those match up with the searches, along with the relevance of your website, how popular it is, how old it is, and if people have linked to it or commented on it, things like that, your website will show up higher and higher in the Google search results. So when you post it, it really doesn't have as much to do with how well they show up. It's how those keywords interact with what people are typing in for a search. So for instance, if someone is looking for a plumber in Minneapolis, Minnesota, they're going to type in plumber Minneapolis, Minnesota, or water damage Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Google's going to pull up the most relevant search results. One thing with Google is Google it's bloodthirsty for fresh content. So if you're blogging more consistently than, say, a website that doesn't have a blog but has the same keywords, Google's going to probably prefer you because you are fresh. And so that's why blogging more regularly is a good thing. And also adding video to your website or any type of multimedia because YouTube and Google are now owned by the same company. Google also gives preference to video, and so adding just a simple embedded video from YouTube really enhances that search engine as well. I have one more.
I was just going to say, we are finding with the search results that Google is really, to reiterate what I call it, Google juice. Google really likes that fresh new stuff, but social media tools are often highly preferred because if you have a social media channel, it's inherent that you're going to be using it much more regularly than a traditional website. So social media tools are showing up very high in search results, and you will often get very good search results on your club or whatever you're trying to do if you're using social media tools.
Yeah, and one thing with Twitter as well, if you do Google searches for certain things, you may find that you'll see Twitter results live inside of the results from Google. And you can also go right to Twitter and search for certain keywords. So for instance, if there's something that's happening in the political world or the Olympics or something that's national or world news, you can go in and search for a keyword with what they call a hashtag and see live results as things are happening. So it's a lot of fun, like during the Super Bowl, to do hashtag the little number sign Super Bowl and just see what people are talking about after a play that happened instantaneous to what you're seeing on the TV, you're also seeing on your smartphone or your other device, and it's really kind of fun to do that. And then you can reply to those people in real time and build those connections as well. And many times those people will end up following you, and you can actually build a relationship. It's very, very real time, so that's cool. I have one last question, and then we're going to end, and that is, what is the general rule for reposting content to avoid copyright infringement? And I assume what this means is that they are taking information off another person's blog maybe and quoting them or reposting it to fill in some content. Is there a general rule on how you can do that, or what's okay or what's not okay?
I'm not a legal expert, so I'll give you the guidelines that I work with. If you are quoting another writer, somebody that's created content, associating the appropriate grammatical marks, such as quotation marks, and you saw a slide that I gave of Chris Brogan. That's a literal quote from one of his, I believe it was an interview he did. I cited my source, and if you have a link that will link them back to the original content, I would do all of those things. The one thing you really can't do is try and pass it off as your own, but as long as you cite your source and send a link back to the original source, you are in good condition. Now there are some legal rules about how much you can recreate, how much content. I don't know if it's multiple paragraphs or where that line is. I would highly recommend asking a lawyer about that. That's a very specialized question, but I can say make sure it's real clear that it's not your work and that they can go back to wherever you found it from.
And I'll add one thing to that. I am part of a larger network of people that is similar to Facebook, but it's more for business professionals, and it's just a Ning site, and that's a site that you can set up. And someone that was posting on their personal blog on Ning posted a quote, and they actually quoted it, and they added the URL link back and the whole thing back to this blogger. Got into trouble. In fact, the entire site was shut down because the person saw it in the search results. They did a vanity search and searched for their own work, saw that someone had quoted them, and contacted not the owner of the Ning site, but went right to the domain, the hosting spot, and said, this person has copywritten me, and they took the entire site down. And it took a lot of work to get that back up, as you can imagine, with several thousand users that are on there. So be careful when you are quoting or doing anything like that, because it's easy to copy and paste, but we don't want to get into trouble when it comes to those things. So that pretty much closes down the questions. I don't see any more. And so I want to thank Kerry for being our presenter today for this webinar. And Kerry, thank you so much for being a part of it. If you want to get in contact with Kerry or follow Kerry on Twitter, Kerry, what is your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is KRegoBiz, B-I-Z.
All right, so you can go to Twitter. If you haven't set up your Twitter account yet, you can go there and follow Kerry personally and reach out to her and say thank you. She also is on Facebook. You can just search her name. But if you want to check out her website, it's kerryregoconsulting.com, and it's just been an honor and a pleasure to work with you on this, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you more on Twitter and on Facebook. Also, this is a presentation that's been supported by the Rotary District 5960, and we just appreciate them and them allowing us to use their tools. And it's also sponsored by Rotary Club Radio, which I get to be the host of, and it's an honor to do that and put out content in social media worlds and podcasting. So without much more to say, I want to thank everyone for attending, and again, we'll have this video posted online, and I will email it out to each one of you at a later date. So thanks for attending, and we look forward to seeing you online. And please check out the websites and connect with us, because we'd love to hear from you. Have a great night.